Welcome to ECE 320 Electronics 1, lecture number 17, DC to AC converters. Now there's a couple reasons why you might want to convert DC to AC. One is transformers. Transformers work at AC but not DC. If you want to use a transformer to bump a voltage up or down, you need an AC signal. Second reason is AC motors are smaller, more efficient than DC motors. For example, this is a 40-pound, 1,000-watt DC motor. There's one in my office, weighs about 40 pounds, costs $2,400 new. One of the finest motors you could buy in 1995. Today, about the same size motor, 800-watt motor, is only 9 inches, is about the size of a D-size battery. It's a quadcopter motor. The difference in the two technologies, this is a DC motor, that's a three-phase AC synchronous motor. By going to three-phase AC, you can make the motors much smaller, much more powerful. In addition, things like quadcopter motors. A quadcopter motor is a BLDC, brushless DC motor. This is actually a three-phase AC synchronous motor. I have no idea why they call it a DC motor. It's actually AC, but that's the name of it. By switching over to AC, you can make the motors much smaller, much more powerful, and that's one of the neat things about electrical engineering. We now have tools. I now can get 1 horsepower in the size of a small D-size battery. The challenge as an engineer is, now that I can get so much power in such a small package, what do you do with it? That's one of the great things about being an electrical engineer. You have all these tools and toys to play with. It also makes it a field that doesn't become dead. Anything I design today will be obsolete 5 years from now. 5 years from now, you can probably do better because you're probably better engineers. But in addition, the technology is advanced. So, for example, no matter how good the design is with this motor, it's obsolete today. The BLDC motors are becoming more and more important right now. Pretty much all motors are switching towards AC motors right now, or electric motors. The reason being is size and cost. For example, the DC motor dates back to 1900. The first generators that Edison used were actually DC motors called dynamos. The brushless DC motors are, from that last graphic, much smaller, much more powerful, and they range in size from a little quadcopter motor. It's basically 1 horsepower. 1 horsepower is 754 watts. 1 horsepower in the size of a D-size battery is pretty amazing power density. Those cost $35, including the driving circuit. If you go on eBay, you can find 1,000-watt motors for your electric bicycle. For example, this is from Volomart. Just pop off your front wheel, pop this one on, and you have an electric bicycle. The battery's extra, but everything else is there for $200. When you get up to 4,000 watts, you start getting electric motorcycles. For example, the Honda PCX is $7,300, weighs 300 pounds. And even larger, the electric cars, like a Nissan Leaf, is 110 kilowatts, or 147 horsepower. Pretty much all motors are switching towards electric drives, which is great for us. That means we got jobs. But the challenge is the batteries tend to be DC. These are the AC motors. I need to generate an AC signal to drive them. And there's a couple ways to do it. One of them is use an H-bridge. The H-bridge we looked at before can make a motor go forward, can make it go reverse if it's a DC motor. Make that an AC motor, I can now have the current go left, then right, then left, then right. I can produce an AC signal and drive an AC motor. And there's a couple ways to do it. One is just have T1 and T4 turn on for positive 24 volts, and then T2 and T3 turn on for negative 24. Keep switching between the two, and I can do any frequency. With AC motors, they're a little bit different than DC motors. With AC motors, the frequency is the speed, and the lead angle is torque. So here I can change the frequency or speed of the motor by outputting a square wave. Another way to do that is if I have a transformer with a center tap, I apply power to the center tap, then each of the wings, I can either tie T1 to ground, in which case current goes up, inducing positive current to the motor, or I can turn on T2. Current goes down and produce negative current to the motor, keep switching between T1 and T2, I can make the current go forward and back, get an AC signal with the motor, and likewise drive an AC motor. And if you simulate that in Circuit Lab, this is what you get. If I just alternate the T1 and T2 turning on, I get a square wave out, or something kind of like a square wave. That's my AC signal driving the motor. Now, one thing you might wonder about is how efficient is this DC to AC converter? You might think it's 100% efficient, but it's actually not. If you take an AC synchronous motor, the sine wave that's at the speed of its rotation is what produces the torque. Higher frequencies just make the motor buzz. They just produce heat. It's energy that's wasted. The efficiency of a DC to AC converter is how much energy is in the first harmonic. That's when it actually does work, makes the motor spin, versus the total energy. I'd like all the energy to be in the first harmonic, meaning a sine wave coming out. If it's not a sine wave, meaning Fourier transforms, that's not a sine wave, that tells you right away that that has harmonics. All those harmonics are wasted energy. The efficiency is how much energy is in the first harmonic versus the total energy. So to determine total energy, you need to use Fourier transforms. Starting out, suppose I had a square wave, 24 volts high, then 24 volts low. To find the energy in the first harmonic, I take the Fourier transform. Input your signal x of t, then find out what's the Fourier transform, Fourier coefficients for the first harmonic, second harmonic, third, fourth, fifth, and so on. Turns out the even harmonics are 0. And if you keep on going, these are the different harmonics. Again, real is cosine, minus j is sine. So this would be sine of 30t, or 30 times sine of t, 10 times sine of 3t, 6 times sine of 5t, 4 sine of 7t, and so on. Add all those up, and I get the red waveform. Add more and more terms, and eventually the Fourier series approximation becomes the actual waveform. The efficiency is how much of the energy is in the first harmonic. And if you do that, the energy of a sine wave is 1/2 of the amplitude squared, basically b squared over r. This across 1 ohm resistor has a power of 466 watts, 51 watts in the third harmonic, 18 watts in the fifth harmonic, and so on. 81% of the energy is in the first harmonic. What that means is that this is a DC to AC converter that's only 81% efficient. The red line is the first harmonic of the Fourier series. That's the only one that really matters. That's the only one that produces work at the output. All the other harmonics that turn the sine wave into a square wave are wasted as heat. That's 19% of the energy. So that's for square wave out. You can do better. With an H-bridge, I can have it turn on, coast, turn off, or go negative, coast, go positive, coast, go negative. If I do it in this way, this form, I actually get 91% efficient. To see that, I take the Fourier series, Fourier expansion of that waveform, and it turns out there's a fifth. In this case, there is no third harmonic, a fifth and seventh harmonic. 91% of the energy is in the first harmonic. So this would be a DC to AC converter that uses an H-bridge that's 91% efficient. I can do better. Going back to the center tap transformer, when IA is turned on, I get energy this inductance. When I switch over to IB, that field collapses. It has to go somewhere. If I had a capacitor in parallel, then what happens is capacitor is kind of like a battery. As IA goes over, it charges the capacitor, and then the capacitor discharges and helps IB. That kind of helps reduce the delta functions, which are burnt up as heat, high frequency terms. It also acts as a filter. If I can get rid of the high frequency terms, I have more of the energy in the first harmonic. If I tune C just right, I can get some decent filtering. For example, if I make C 200 microfarads kind of by trial and error, this is the waveform. If I do Fourier series expansion for this guy, it now turns out 98% of the energy is in the first harmonic, and there's still a little bit of third, fifth, and seventh harmonic. You know there's something there because this is not a sine wave, meaning it does have harmonics, but it's pretty darn close. So with that DC to AC converter, I'm up to 98% efficient. So that's a couple of different ideas. Given a DC motor or DC battery, I can drive an AC motor. What we've been looking at is just a single phase. The quadcopter motors are actually a little bit more complicated. If you look at a quadcopter motor, it's got 3 leads. Let's go back over here. There it is. This has 3 leads. That's a 3-phase AC synchronous motor. What that means is to drive the motor, I need to generate 3-phase AC. So this will be phase A, the blue line. Phase B is lagging 120 degrees. Phase C lags 240 degrees. Then I go back to phase A. I need to generate 3 voltages. Each is a sine wave, each 120 degrees out of phase. That's 3-phase AC. One way to do that is to have a couple half-H bridges. If I'd have phase A pulled high, floating, pulled low, floating, pulled high. Phase B, 120 degrees out of phase, going high, floating, low, floating. Phase C likewise. This will drive a 3-phase AC synchronous motor, also known as a BLDC motor. And that's kind of what's on the driver circuits for quadcopters. Once you can do that, I can now switch from a DC motor, which again from 1995 technology weighs 40 pounds, costs $2,000, to a small D-size battery for the motor. It's a little bit tricky to use, a little bit tricky to design, but if you can figure out the DC to AC converters, if you can figure out how to produce these waveforms, I can go from a 40-pound motor down to a 9-ounce motor. And that's where the fun part comes in engineering. I can now have 1 horsepower in the size of a D-size battery. What do you do with it? That's lecture number 17 for ECE 320 Electronics, DC to AC converters.